Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who've kept us going for almost 500 episodes.
This is 475, I think. I think this is
Yeah.
475. So
We're getting there.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Kenneth S. Thank you, Kenneth. We appreciate you. Been a dude for a couple of years now.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. This is a good episode to be dude of the week. Sometimes there's like certain episodes that I feel like are going to be fun to talk about. Okay. I know a lot of people are disappointed in this, but I was actually, maybe my expectations were so low but I'm going to give this like a C plus or a B, this Sony state.
Yeah, this is a very kind of like split, but like in the middle split. Like no one's saying this was the greatest thing ever or the worst thing ever, but a lot of people are like, that was disappointing, or that was pretty good. I'm kind of in the pretty good camp. I say it's like a B.
Yeah.
Like if I was grading this as a teacher, I'd probably give it like an 83.
Okay.
You know, maybe that's more B. That's more B minus territory, but like anywhere but like 83, 80. I don't think it's like, oh, this was treading like a 70, a C, a C plus. I don't think it was like skirting the line there. I think it was like right in the middle.
I think there was sort of, I mean, okay, there was a lot of stuff that we've already seen before is third party, is going to everyone, all the Capcom stuff. But
yeah, I mean, we want to talk about two takeaways from kind of what wasn't there in a hardware perspective.
Yeah,
no VR, period.
Well, there was a VR game,
right? The claymation game Midnight Walk, which looks really cool.
That is highly anticipated for me.
Yeah, but there was no VR segment. It was just like, hey, that's also going to be on VR, but like there was no VR2 anything. There was really no PSVR 2 stuff at all. There's certainly no highlight, and only a couple games they mentioned the PS5 Pro enhancements.
Yeah.
So if I want to be rude, which I ought to be, I do think this cynically didn't convince me to buy anything hardware. I have a PlayStation 5. You have a PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
I am not convinced from anything I saw to get a Pro, or spend money on a VR2. So I don't think they care about the VR2 anymore.
I think VR2 is dead. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was definitely kind of like, and the thing was, I'm okay with this because I feel like the system should be in the later half of its lifespan, and we shouldn't be talking about things that get you to want to buy the console at this point. This point in a console's life, it's about making your owners happy, and you're going to get more new people, of course, but like at the end of the day, this is about making people happy who have the system.
I mean, how nuts is it that we're in the back half of the system's lifespan, which it doesn't even feel like that.
Right. And regardless of Xbox or PlayStation, this was probably the worst console generation I think we've lived through. It's felt like the most insignificant, like the most nothing burger of a console generation.
I mean, it's hard to say that when you have the Switch, but the Switch went for 2 lives. Like 8 years seems so long for the Switch.
Oh, it is.
It's almost hard to say like the Switch is a part of this generation in a way.
Right.
But not to downplay the Switch's success. Yes, everybody's happy with the Switch. Yes. Yeah, I don't want that.
We are excited to move on, is what we are.
Right. I think it's weird that like how many PS5 exclusives, true PS5,
true honest. Well, I mean, it's kind of like whittled down to almost nothing because of the PC.
Right.
And even if you say, okay, well, just PS5 and PC only, that's still a very tiny number.
Well, I just mean like even in this state of play, they had stuff that's going to also run on PS4.
Yes.
They made a point of saying like, oh yes, PS. So how many people that own a PS4 haven't upgraded to PS5, and they're so worried about that number that they're still selling things for the PS4? which is
Right.
cool. It's not bad. It's just it makes it feel like this generation, like they're admitting that this generation is a nothing burger as well. Like, well, I know but I think we're split a little bit on Matt Piscatella saying this, but like even he's already talking about PS6. He's the numbers guy. He's the industry
Yeah.
numbers guy. Um, he's talking about the next generation and like what could be exciting and stuff. And he's saying PS6 is
Yeah.
going to be a hybrid
He's not
console,
saying it's
possibly.
going to be. He's saying it could be. He's saying because we know Sony's making a portable. Like
Mhm.
Sony, like it's. I don't think they've officially said it. I think Microsoft officially has said. Phil has officially said they are making a portable or looking
Mhm.
into a portable R
Right.
and D. At best, they are research and developing a portable machine. It's just heavily rumored. It's like an open secret that Sony is absolutely looking into the handheld market sector again.
Well, it's
Um,
also, doesn't it sort of feel like Sony has no new ideas right
they
now?
never
They're just sort of
when it,
fallen.
when did they have a when the F did Sony have an original idea?
Well, I mean, they dominated PS4 partially because they
Not with an
framed.
original idea, just
No, that's
by
true.
staying the course.
Right, they framed themselves as being their own men in a way, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they didn't follow Microsoft
Yeah, well,
down the doomed
the speculation is that like, okay, yes, they're obviously everyone knows they're looking at making a handheld again, so he's
right,
looking into it. He was speculating maybe that's just the PS6. Maybe they're just not, they're not going to bother. Like, maybe that is PS6. Maybe maybe they might go hybrid. And he's saying that just from a sort of like, I see where he's coming from because if the Switch 2 is a huge success right out the gate, I think there's temptation there for Sony to make a really high-end luxury hybrid console. Um,
gross.
the thing is like, well, that would stifle creativity, that would stifle, you know, uh, game vision. That was, I mean, and here's and that would have been true pretty much any other time and point before in history where you would say like, well, why would they give up a more powerful architecture for hybridization, for portability? That's going to be hugely detrimental to the game development. And frankly, we're at the point now where I'm like, we don't have an industry that can support making the games it does make.
Right.
Like we can't have games costing $325 million and have to split 40% of that revenue with Walt Disney. Like we can't do this.
It's
Like this
also
is this is not sustainable. And frankly, the fact that God of War, Ragnarok and Horizon 2 did run on a PS4, I'll bet, lower resolution, at 30 frames. The fact that you could get those games period to run on a system from 2012 or whatever year the PS4 came out, it's like, well,
right.
regardless of how much you might be giving up in horsepower, this industry doesn't support it anymore. And frankly, if you want horsepower, get a PC. They release a new GPU line every 6 months, it feels like.
Yeah, well, that's the worst part about PC is that you're with the marketing, you're constantly feeling like you have a slow piece of shit when like my PC is still top of the line and it's technically 5 years old, and people are all like, "Oh, you should upgrade that." I don't want to. I don't want to upgrade it. It's
Well, I
fine.
feel like if you're in the 30 series, what's the point?
Right? Yeah.
Because most games are being made with at least a PS5 or a Series S in mind, which is a 2060, 2060 Super or 2070 or whatever. It's like they're most games are being made with 20 series GPUs in mind.
My one thing about why Sony would not necessarily, okay, yeah, we don't need all the donkey flops. We don't need, we don't need celebrities to look exactly like themselves in
Mhm.
games. So you don't necessarily need it to be like photorealistic. You could tone it back. You could go for
Yeah,
art styles that are more stylistic. I mean, look at Walk at Midnight. Um,
South of Midnight,
South of Midnight. I'm sorry.
or did you
Uh,
mean the Midnight Walk?
Midnight Walk. Yeah, I meant Midnight Walk, but also
They
South of
both
Midnight's a
do the
good
low
example
frame
too,
or the odd frame rate thing, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
for different reasons. But both Midnight games. Actually, I never even thought about how weird it is that two games with Midnight in the title are both claymation-esque. One is claymation, the other is
Yeah,
like claymation-esque.
yeah, stop motion, yeah,
And
based,
I'm
yeah,
excited about both.
yeah.
Huh. Um, but like, you don't need photorealism necessarily. You have 80/20 coming out. You know, it's got movie stars in it. I'm blanking on the main character's name, but she is
Recognize like
is
one
it like
guy talking in the trailer briefly, but I mean it's a super massive game, so it's kind of that was a game where I saw it and I was like, okay, cool, whatever. Like the weird thing is for a company that basically makes cinematic games,
yeah.
like Quarry and was it the original Until Dawn or whatever, their animation is still not noticeably below Naughty Dog and like Sony Santa Monica.
I mean, there's a couple moments of jank in there, but I'm willing to say that that'll probably be fleshed out by the time it comes out.
I don't know. I think that's just a simple like talent pool thing where it's like, okay, here's just the like Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog games have the animation that they do because they have the budgets they have from Sony, which is like, okay, if you want this type of setting in a game and you want it to look like literally Pixar quality, for lack of a better term, as I said, with a bunch of Pixar but paintings behind me, you need to pay Pixar quality, budgets and talent. So
Well, that and I mean, it helps that they're based in LA where there's
right, and I forget who it was, Sean Layden or someone else was talking about it recently, where he's just like, look, the talent pool for games and games like this is in LA. Like a lot of people think like, well, why don't you build studios somewhere cheaper? Because I'm not going to get the talent to move out. I'm not going to get enough of the talent to
right.
move out there. I can't just hire in new talent. There's not, I'm sure there are talented people in Kansas or Nebraska, maybe, but like, do you think, it's like there are talented people, but it's like, do you think there's going to be a large pool of 3D animators just sitting there like in Oklahoma waiting for their chance to shine?
Being like, yeah, I'll move across the country to do that. It's a weird thing about the game industry is like there's not necessarily a game industry town,
Yeah.
but you would think that there'd be a motivation to
Oh, if
become a
there
game.
is, it's Santa Monica, if there was one.
Santa Monica, well, Santa
And
Monica
in
is
in
yeah,
anything sort of in and around Santa Monica, because that's where like all of the big major, like biggest game studios all are. And that extends a little bit down into Orange County.
yeah, because
That's
Riverside and Irvine have a huge
yeah, especially down in Irvine. So it's
yeah.
like, bro, it's just like that from like Irvine to Santa Monica, that is where like the largest talent pool of some of the best talent in America works and lives
Yeah.
and wants to live. Thing is, if they really wanted, if they wanted to, like, oh, we need to make this cheaper, you should let people work remote,
Yeah.
the whole studio, and they're like, well, that won't work. Well, then,
CEOs love to blame remote work for all their failures, and now it's coming to bite them because they have to actually move everybody back to office, even though in office is technically more expensive and less productive. But to
no,
get
don't
back
tell them
onto,
that.
yeah, I'm not gonna to get back onto topic because I realized I sent us down a tangent there. Yeah, I think this state of play better than I was expecting. Maybe my bar was way too low. There was a
Yeah,
couple of things in it that I was jazzed about.
I would say I was generally kind of excited for a lot of what was here. Nothing was blowing my mind. Nothing was the Ghost of Yotei, like finally Ghost of Tsushima tube, and looking forward to so much. So,
Lies of
and
P.
I
Sure. You're
exactly. Well, that is a close. That's
yeah.
probably the most exciting thing. It, I really wanted, and I actually did expect to hear more of Ghost of Yotei, Sony's major first party title, supposedly releasing this year. But
There's supposed to be another state of play later this year, but isn't it entirely
there's
devoted to
there's a
Borderlands?
Borderlands 4 in the spring at some point. I hope that's not their May. Oh my god, that would be so embarrassing if that was their big giant May, because they did that for like Horizon 2. They had it like
Yeah,
dedicated. Oh god, if it was for Borderlands 4, Jesus.
might be. The greatest magic trick that Randy Pitchford ever did was somehow sell people on board. Well, okay, Borderlands 3 wasn't a failure, but like it was like it's getting long in the tooth. Borderlands,
Yeah, it's getting long. Yeah, exactly.
it's getting overplayed. So I don't know how Randy Pitchford sold Sony because it's not exclusive. It's just like money had it right for
Right.
a
Yeah.
little bit.
I don't
So it's
even
like,
think it's timed exclusive. I think it's just out on everything. It's definitely going to be day and date on PC.
oh, interesting. For some reason, I figured that Sony must be like trying to keep it for a year or something with how much
No
they've
way.
been.
No way. Unless I missed something, no way.
I don't know. They've just been pushing it so hard. Like they've been
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Sony's been pushing Borderlands 4 harder than Gearbox has, for Christ's sake. And I feel like also the Randy thing should have been funny, but for some reason, like it got tired fast.
At
You know,
least.
it suffered from the same problem that Borderlands 3 had. Is that joke is
Ah,
about 10 years out of date. Like, but I'm glad that they tried. Also,
yeah.
I'm
There's
not
nothing about it
actually
being nothing about it exclusive. No.
I'm not truly I'm not trying to bully here. Randy shirts, like Randy Pitchford shirts. I realize he likes magic and so he wears a magician shirt, but they get crazier and crazier. But this is the first one that I saw that I was all like, if I did enough drugs, I would like that shirt. Like I would wear that shirt. like, like that shirt sort of worked for me. I don't know what I would wear it to, but I did like that shirt. And I don't
That's
know
why
if
it's
that's
a
like,
Magic Castle because he's part owner.
well, I don't know if it's just like I turned 36 and I now like butt rock and dad shit is like cool to me. Like, and so you're like, oh, Randy Pitchford's outrageous shirt. Yes.
The nicest thing you could say is that they were enthusiastic.
Yeah, like okay, I if I'm gonna be genuinely nice and not be a shit for humor's sake, for entertainment value,
Ah.
um, yeah, like if I'm being genuine, Randy he sells it. Like he puts a lot of effort into it. If I didn't know anything else about it, if I was casually just tuning in and I didn't read anything about like, and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, this guy seems fairly charismatic for the game industry. Let's put that
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the game industry. Fairly charismatic.
And the one thing though is that you look at the game and I just go, there's a meme, of a book called Identifying Wood, and it's a guy holding this big block
Yeah.
of wood with this big, like, little magnifying
Yeah, that's
thing, and he's
wood.
looking at it. Yep, that's wood. I'm like, identifying Borderlands. Yep, that's Borderlands. Like, other than a couple like big moment, like guy like does like a big old like double-handed thing to blow someone up. You could not get me. I could not tell you what Borderlands that was.
Yeah,
Like at a glance, it looked like the last three Borderlands. I don't know what's different about it.
I
Some moves looked kind of unique.
I'm married to a massive Borderlands fan.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's fine for Borderlands people. Like in a way, it's like,
Yeah,
oh, is this a terrible thing? I mean, not really. It's Borderlands 4. They're making another
no,
Borderlands people for people who like Borderlands. I mean, there's really nothing wrong with that whatsoever.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like I'm married to a massive Borderlands fan, so I gotta. Uh, even though my hype, I like Borderlands, I enjoy Borderlands, but after 3, my hype has sort of evened
There
out.
was a grapple whip in this one. That was kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah, there. I mean, it's gonna have dumb fun in it. I'm not. It's just that like we're on
I
the
think
fourth one and they haven't really changed. They haven't done anything that's like ooh new, and that's okay. My wife is amped. It's going to be the same thing she enjoyed about the first one, the same thing she enjoyed about the second one, the same thing she loved about the third one. She's down. It's PB and J to her. She just digs it.
honestly, the best thing Borderlands 4 can do or be is just actually be just like Borderlands, like classic 1 and 2 or whatever, and just
Yeah,
not have a battle pass, not be, swamped with DLC and all kinds of other crap. The best thing Borderlands could be just be itself and just be like a really fun looter shooter, a schluter,
yeah,
and not be scummy with the microtransaction. I don't know if that'll happen with 2K, but like, hey, if because it'd be like Monster Hunter Wilds, right? Which they started the show with, where they're like, hey, the first free update, like a week after the game, is the soap monster. I forget it's Mitsune.
Yeah.
The soap bubble dragon. And that's what's great about Monster Hunter, like Worlds and Rise, and apparently what's following with Wilds. You don't buy a battle pass or whatever. Like, you play the game, and then there's this whole game's worth of content, and then like every week or every month, I guess, like every month or 2 months, they just throw something new in for free.
Yeah.
They throw a new monster, and they plan like about a year's worth of content into the game to like trickle out over the year. Not that there's not enough in the main game. There's definitely enough in the main game, but they just, hey, we're just adding another hunt
Well, and
into
it's
the
low
game
lift.
for free.
It's a low lift way to keep people playing your game.
Yeah. It's perfect. I think Borderlands doing something like that. I think my voice is cracked there. I think Borderlands doing something like that, like, hey, we're just going to add some bosses or some just gun variations, trickle it in for free, just in title updates. It's like that would be the best way to do it. I don't know if 2K capable of that, but
I just remembered as an update, because I forgot that I told everybody about the Borderlands movie thing. We're renting it Valentine's Day. We're gonna go out.
love. Oh, she doesn't know, does she?
Nope. We're gonna go out. We're gonna have a nice dinner, and then she's stoked.
All right. Okay, Andrew. Just so you know, my couch is not big enough to sleep you next week. Okay. I just want you to know I don't have a big enough couch for you to sleep on.
I cannot express to you how excited she is. She's out of 10. She's like, I don't like, truly, the one thing that's really wonderful is like she'll still have fun when it's bad, but when it sinks in that it is bad, that it is not in fact good, that I have hyped this terrible movie for like, I don't know, 6 months now. it's gonna, it's gonna be so good. It's just gonna be this, like, it's gonna be like you wrapped a bunch of like school books for Christmas presents. It's like, look at all these Christmas.
God.
It's a chemistry book, monster. Anyway, yeah. So Borderlands is easy sell for me. I know we're gonna have it. I know I'm gonna play it because she's gonna buy it, and it's okay that it's gonna be peanut butter. It's gonna be the same thing always, but
Right. I mean,
I'm just not like over the moon.
If they were doing something brand new, doing another, like, hey, we're trying, they were trying to do something like Alien Colonial Marine again, there'd be a lot of side eye, like, okay, well, like, the thing is, we know they can make a Borderlands game,
right?
Now it's like them trying to do anything else right now is still, it's 10, 12, 20, whatever, 15 years after the fact, but that stink's going to be hard to wash off for him. So,
I mean, for a lot of reasons, that shirt looked like polyester.
For a reason.
Not breathable.
Water resistant, maybe.
There's too many games to necessarily go over and over and over every single one. But
right.
I want to talk about that weren't there that I expected to be there.
Okay. Yeah.
And that maybe is you pointed out one of them to me earlier. Nothing on Marathon. Is Marathon dead because of Concord's death?
That's a big thing. Both Marathon and Fair Games, I think, were not there because I think Sony's actually terrified of talking about live service games right now.
And it would be a huge pivot to drop, because both of those are huge budget games, aren't they?
Yeah, and they had a game that's not theirs, but it's like some multiplayer portal shooter game.
Splitgate.
There was some other one as well that got shown, some multiplayer, and I was like, okay, what is? Oh, like there was like a survival, like crafting, which sounded terrible to me.
Oh God, what is that?
But either way, it's just like those games almost look like, well, these are doomed to die. And I think after that much money and loss, and here's the other thing too, is that Helldivers 2 had its big expansion. It had its third alien race or whatever,
right.
And come out, and I don't remember anything really upticking for that game, even when they did. I think it came out last month or something, or December. Sorry, I guess we're in February now. Yeah, 2 months ago. and it feels like it didn't. Like, Helldivers is trucking along, but like it doesn't feel like they lost a lot of goodwill with that debacle on
Yeah.
PC with the PSN store, and it feels like they never really truly recovered from it. So I think even for a game that won is and got them as much money as Helldivers 2 did, um, like the goodwill's kind of like I think the failure of Concord was greater than the success of Helldivers 2, and I think Sony is just like, man, let's just not even talk about this right now.
Well, I'm torn because Marathon I'm sort of excited for.
Yeah, but it's an extraction shooter now.
Yeah, but I like extraction shooters, so if it was interesting enough, yeah, I want to see more of it. So if it gets canceled, I'll be sort of bummed, but at the same time, I understand why it would get canceled if Sony's like, "Oh, the live services idea was a bad idea, just scrub everything."
Yeah.
You know, I think live services games are going to be here forever. They're always going to be around.
In
Because
some
someone is always going to look at the money that gets made by a live services game and go, every live services game will make that. You'll always have that. Every generation of executive is always going to have that.
yeah.
Right now it's Gen X making bad decisions, but don't worry,
Speaking of
millennials will be there.
speaking of generations, I had to tell people this, and it's not a game either of us are looking forward to, but there was another new Five Nights at Freddy's game announced there,
Mhm.
and people were like, oh my god, they're still making these. I'm like, you gotta understand, for Gen Alpha and even for Zoomers, this is their Transformers, their He-Man, their Mega Man. Pick your 80s iconic franchise, or maybe if you're not quite as old, pick your 90s iconic franchise that started in the 90s.
Right.
And that was your world, your obsession as a kid. That's what it is for these kids. Okay, like you're gonna say like, "Oh, but Transformers is so cool," and it's like, bro, you're 4. You don't have discretion over what is and isn't cool. So please,
Yeah, no, if you come to Transformers later in life, it's all right.
it's fun.
It's
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 fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not, I'm never going to hate on it, but also, is it GI Joe? No.
Oh, Transformers is better than GI Joe.
Get out of here. No.
We need Steve on this
No.
podcast right now. I need to get Steve, and I need to get some of my other Transformer heads on here.
We
We
don't-
will have a civil effing war between Transformers and GI Joe.
It's going to be a little hard to win that argument when everything about
No,
GI Joe is cool and Transformers are cars or whatever.
nothing, dude. No, Transformers has such a better film than GI Joe.
I mean, yeah, I don't care.
And to be fair, if we want to go even older than us, like the real Gen Xers, it's kind of like Gen X. Like, I don't think any alphas or the upcoming betas are really that into Star Wars. You know why? Because Star Wars was a Gen X thing, and Lucas just pushed it as long as he could.
Hmm.
At the end of the day, if you're an adult and you walk into Star Wars like with absolutely zero knowledge of it, you're probably gonna be like, it's fine, I guess, whatever. Like, you're not going to be blown away because frankly, it's like when you're 4 or 5 years old and you get like you're hyper impressionable and like something is like the coolest thing you've ever seen because it's like the first of its kind that you've seen. It leaves a lasting impact.
I mean, George Lucas is on the record as saying that Star Wars is a kids movie.
Yeah.
Like he says it's a kids movie. Like when there's an interview where someone was all like, "Oh well, uh, people are saying that you didn't grow up the prequels or whatever. Like the prequels didn't grow up," and he was like, "It's a kids movie." Now, granted, that defense of the prequels seems silly because the basis of the first movie is a trade war, and it's
Right.
like, what kid is? I'm
There's so much
6.
weirdness though, because he's right, but he also like he totally interjects both his like personal political feelings at the time of writing them
Yeah,
and his divorces right into the movies. So
well, that's what filmmakers are known for.
right, so it is kind of funny that I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of like personal angst in those films that he definitely has as well. But yeah, like they're kids movies.
Yeah,
Like
and there's
you know,
nothing wrong with that, until you make your entire personality a kids movie. That's It's probably not healthy. But look at all the theater kids that made Labyrinth their favorite movie, and made it
Now
their
they have
entire
Labyrinth,
identity.
and they have a Labyrinth Ball in LA.
Yeah. I mean, although Labyrinth is probably single-handedly responsible for not creating but identifying the bisexuality. Before you have a clear demarcation. Before Labyrinth, you were either gay or lesbian or straight. After Labyrinth, there was a lot of people that are like, I don't know, I could do both.
I don't know. I mean, I think The Mummy is most people's bisexual awakening.
Yeah, that too. But Labyrinth is
The original Brendan Fraser. I mean, granted, it's like 10, 13 years later, but I think most people, like, if you're old, it's maybe Labyrinth. If you're a little younger, The Mummy definitely makes you question.
well, yeah, the Mummy. The Mummy is one of those, like, it's a movie where you either wish you had the English riding boots, or you wish that you were dating the person wearing the English riding boots. Like,
Who was it? Was it you or someone else? Maybe it was Max was telling me one time they were in Santa Monica, and the guy who played Emotep, the actor, was just sitting at like a little cafe, just chilling, eating like like a little breakfast scone or something.
oh, I
And
don't know. Yeah.
people would nobody was really bothering him or anything, and it was just kind of like, oh shit, it's Emotep, because he didn't do a ton of work. He did work, but it wasn't like he wasn't like Harrison Ford or whatever the heck, right? So it was just kind of like funny to just be like, oh yeah, like it was like this almost like nice to just actor got his money, got out, and
Well,
lived his life peacefully, like Rick Moranis.
no, he did a bunch of stuff. He was a villain. Like, he was in Blood Diamond. He's a
Oh, was
South
he?
African. Yeah, he's a South African actor. If I remember correctly. No, the only person from The Mummy that I have ever met for even a second is the guy who plays Benny.
Oh, Benny.
Because he's just one of the best character actors ever. And, like, I didn't meet him. I ran into him at an ArcLight. Actually, most of my like celebrity sightings in LA happened at an ArcLight theater. I don't know if that just means like ArcLights are the best place to go to see movies.
I watched Hateful Eight with Dante Bosco, who played Rufio and Zuko. So
Hell yeah.
it was like his group of friends, and then me and Mike, and that was pretty much the whole theater for us. So
Just ArcLights. I guess if you're next to an ArcLight, check it out. But yeah, that guy, you don't expect him to look so normal because of all the different characters that he's played. And if you look up that actor, I don't know why I'm blanking on his name because he's in everything that Steven Sommers ever. Kevin J. O'Connor.
Mhm.
Everything that he does, like, he's in all sorts of stuff. He just disappears into. One of my favorite stories about the Mummy, and I'm so sorry, this is an aside, but it's such a good story. Um, you know that part where Benny starts saying the different prayers in different languages?
Yeah. And I misremembered this line. I had a Berenstain Bears moments because I thought Emotep, when he pulls out the Star of David, I thought he said, "Ah, the symbol of the slaves I have used for you." And I'm like, actually, the Star of David was not actually created until I can't remember what point in time, but way after the Egyptian pharaohs. So he
He
actually would have no idea what the Star of David is. Because the King David himself is way after the story
Right.
of Moses and everything. But then my friend, who's a very much a mummy aficionado, was like, actually, no, he says the language of the slaves when he speaks
Right.
Hebrew. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, no, they didn't flub that. And I was like, dang.
Well, apparently the story from that is that Kevin J. O'Connor uh, didn't tell anybody that he learned the different prayers in different languages, and until the day they went to shoot, until it was like time to do the actual take. And so it's just like the first two times that he did it, everybody starts dying laughing. And so, like, apparently there's just different takes of him first doing it, and you can just hear people crying, laughing, including the cameraman. And, like, he makes the actor playing the mummy break because he took classes to say the Chinese
Mm.
perfectly. And I don't know why that's such a good story, but yeah, that guy commits hard. Love that guy. Also, there's like some thirst trap images out there. you don't think Benny's hot, and then you'll see like him with long hair and shirtless, and you're like, oh, okay, Kevin J. O'Connor, real main character energy. Getting back to the state of play, do you have a favorite, and a least favorite?
I think like you said,
Liza P.
Liza P Overture is definitely kind of way up there. Probably because the thing is, I stand by this to this day. To this day, Liza P has the best combat in a Souls-like game. Straight up.
Okay.
Now we can make the argument about level design because is it the best Souls-like game? Kind of, but also you make the argument like, well, the level design really isn't up to like Dark Souls or Elden Ring, and I'm like, true. I mean, Elden Ring's open world, but like for the interconnected ness of say Dark Souls 1, no, it's not as intricate. It's nowhere near as like intricate or maze like. It's much more linear in that
Right.
sense. It does interconnect, but only at like the broadly speaking, you unlock shortcuts, but it's a very linear game, and without getting into too much details, but love the look of the game, love the take on the fairy tale Pinocchio IP. And I read the blog, and this is a prequel, which is interesting because I guess the ending is kind of interesting for Liza P because one, it kind of feels like I don't know where you go with Pinocchio and the story and the blue fairy and how it ends there, depending on, and there's 3 endings, so it depends on what ending you go with. And then they also tease that they're going into Wizard of Oz next. So for the DLC, it's a prequel, which is nice because Liza P does a thing that all Souls games do, and it's something I've seen some people start to kind of like agree with me on, where I'm like, every Souls game is about the world got destroyed, completely destroyed, and you're just kind of roaming around the wasteland of whatever post-apocalyptic thing that happened in every Souls game. And every Souls game's done. And you learn the story of how everything, what the world building and the crumbling of that world, you all learn in all those cryptic item descriptions or whatever. But you're never there for anything actually happening. It's always just like wandering around the wasteland of like of the post
Right.
apocalyptic event. So the DLC was saying like, hey, you're going to see what led to the city, the robots, the puppets going crazy. So it's like it's like they actually called it the director's cut of the game. So I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe we're gonna do something where like we actually see sort of like the major turning point in the story.
Is P going to be the main character for the Wizard of Oz game?
I have no idea.
Like you're going into Wizard of Oz, is P gonna?
I mean, they showed Dorothy clicking her heels at the end of the game trailer, so I would assume it's Dorothy is going to be the main character. Which I don't know if they're going to call it Lies of D. Already Liza P. Might as well like Liza D.
And then instead of Overture, it's gonna be like Lies of D ghosting. D always lies. Okay, Liza P being your favorite thing.
I think my biggest surprise, besides, I just want to shout out Shinobi,
Yeah.
not Shinobi 4, but we'll call it Shinobi 4, whatever. Shinobi looked great.
Art of Vengeance.
Art of Vengeance.
And it comes out in August. Yeah, it looks really cool.
Looked like a soft remake of Shinobi 3 with like, the hand-drawn art style. Looked great.
It's been so long since I played a Shinobi game because I think the last one that I played on was like Genesis.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's more or less where the series died. Yes, I know there's a PS2 version. Yes, I know there was a 3DS game. It pretty much died on Genesis.
One thing that the Hell Is Us, like more in-depth look at, or it's not in-depth look, but more Hell Is Us. So I was into it, but something happened that took me way out of it. It just like cuts to the dude without his hood on, and he's got this mop of curly hair that doesn't match his face. And it felt like a Cromartie High joke. it felt like it was taking the piss out of itself. And so part of me was like, either that's genius or it's just the most.
It definitely seemed to be like, it had like this almost like, it's kind of like Outlast mashed with Dark Souls, mashed with COD. It's like COD and Dark Souls and kind of Outlast had this weird. Outlast 2 had this weird
Weird baby.
amalgam,
Yeah.
weird baby. It's a little mushed together art wise, I would say.
There's another like COD future David Cage baby. What was that one called? Um, you know which one I'm talking about? Like the one it's supposed to be like super cinematic. Let me see. I got like a thing open here.
See, this is a really good time because I read this comment and it was so effing true of this state of play where um I'll
Mind's
just
Eye.
Mind's Eye. We have to talk about that. The user Plum on Reset Era said this. He's like, I gotta let myself be a bit of a cynical curmudgeon here because because so many of these games now just blend together. He says so many games share at least a few of these exact bullet points. One, realistic art style. Two,
Yep.
set in a dark fantasy or dark sci-fi universe, probably apocalyptic. Three, combat involves flashy third-person action against fast-paced bosses. Yeah, 4 has a witch time and or a parry, which is a plus in my mind. 5, the protagonist is on their own, maybe with a robotic and or spirit companion. 6, everyone's always just kind of miserable, speaking only in verbose declarations.
Yeah.
And finally, it has some weird ass name that you can barely remember, something like Route 2091, Exposite, Frames of Destruction, Plantus, and
Lost
it's
Soul
getting
Aside.
kind of tiring at this point. And he's not wrong.
No, he's not. And Mind's Eye, like, it should be interesting. I swear to God, if they would have been like, oh, new game from David Cage, I would have been like,
So the thing is, that's from Leslie Benzie. He is the producer from Rockstar, the one named in the leaks as the one who put most of every Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead 1 together. I think Red Dead 2 is like the only game he maybe didn't have any hands on. But this is his first game after splitting from Dan Houser. So
interesting.
this is actually kind of interesting. So it's actually more of a Blade Runner GTA than a COD game, and it's about unchecked greed and AI is the story. I don't know if you heard him say that.
I did. Yeah. I mean, that makes it a lot more interesting. Huh.
Which is why you see so much car combat. That's why the camera is placed like directly in the middle, like guys like in the middle of the screen running. It's very GTA like.
Interesting. Huh.
Need the
Okay.
bends.
Okay. I'm more interested than I was.
It'll be interesting to see how this one turns out. Because he doesn't have infinite money and time like GTA gets anymore. So
That's true. Oh, you have Metal Eden. Metal Eden, fast-paced science fiction first-person
right,
shooter.
yeah. I
Also,
thought that was going to be Marathon for a second. I really did.
yeah, I got thrown for a loop on that one. And then, of course, Tides of Annihilation, which
That one is probably my most. Besides showing me, that's probably the one I was like, oh, I was actually kind of surprised. That looked kind of good, actually.
I was sort of surprised by it because it seemed like, I mean, yeah, it does seem like right up your alley, but also,
I thought it was Expedition 33 at first.
yeah, that's what I thought it was. Like, I was like, is this?
I'm like, oh, we're actually going to London, not just Paris. Oh no, wait, it's a different game.
This plays into the point where it's like everything feels, even the things that I think are exciting. I I also have to acknowledge that everything seems samey. Now, granted, that Saros game, which we don't know anything else about it other than
I read the blog post they said. So it is it's the Returnal devs
right.
making another Returnal like game. However, this one is permanent upgrades. Every time you die, you carry with you what you die with. So it's because Returnal is pure, rogue, like you lose
Right.
everything on the death. So this one is like the level and world changes, but you get to keep up, you keep progression. That is permanent progression.
And it is interesting.
Now
And
I'm
I
not
like the actor.
Yeah, I'm not pumped for this game because I bought Returnal and Returnal it's very well done. I don't want to it's not like Returnal is a bad game, but however, Returnal is a roguelike that really wants you to spend 3 hours per run in its run. And I think
That's
that's a
fine.
little absurd to me. Um, And you open up shortcuts, but here's the thing: when you open up the shortcuts, so you cut, you skip through an area, you're willingly skipping upgrades that you would find in that run. You're willingly letting go of certain, like, you would find all these upgrades if you did the whole level and the boss. So if you choose to skip, if you choose to do the shortcuts you unlock, you are willingly neglecting, upgrade paths and stuff. So you can do a run in an hour, but we really want you to spend 3 to 4 for a run. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Can you pause?
Initially,
/save?
you could not save at all. Like, it defeated the purpose of the game. It's a roguelike, Um,
Huh.
and people were doing things where they were like cloud save scumming, like powering off their system, powering it back on. Whatever. They eventually had to they eventually had to patch in a save state, like a single time save state or whatever. But they were kind of like bullied into it, and I was just kind of like, man, your run's too damn long, dude.
Yeah, 3 to 4. Well, the thing that I have to keep reminding myself again, because I'm now ye old. If I was 19, you know, a 3-hour run would be like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I'm gonna sit here for 3 hours because I did that. I did that all the time. Now a 3-hour run makes me feel like I would be like exhausted by the end. Like I wouldn't feel relaxed. It's weird to say like gaming as like when I was a kid, I didn't think about gaming as relaxation. Gaming as a teenager was more about competition to me. And then
Mhm.
now I'm like, gaming is mostly how I turn my brain off
Yeah.
to not think about like other actual real life things like real concerns. And so much of how I frame gaming or games that I want to get is like, is the story good? Is it going to be work? Am I going
Yeah.
to like, is the game going to require work from me? Although we did have somebody say that they really love grinding. Like grinding is the thing that they
Right.
love.
Everyone's got their thing. I could sit there and nobody can do this. I can sit there and I can wander around Xenoblade's world and just randomly kill or re-kill, the big monster bosses or whatever, or just randomly dick around in that world.
I can do that
Like,
with The Last of Us too. I like the
I
combat
can.
enough that I'll just like
Yeah,
hop in.
I can just do it.
Yeah.
I like the atmosphere. I love the music especially, and I just love just wandering around, being just I like being in this world. And that's what I'm always looking for, or like for 3D games, not for 2D. I have like a different mindset for video games when it's 2D versus 3D. When it's a 3D game, I want a game where it's like I want to be in that world. I want to be in there. I don't want to be that character. I'm not like I need to self-insert my character. I want to create a character that looks just like. I don't give a shit about any of that. Fuck all that. I want to be in the world. I just want to be in that world. I can literally. I would prefer to play as a lesbian woman, in this other world than spend hours trying to make my own character avatar. I don't care about me personally. When I'm playing the game, I just want to be transported. I just want to be in that other world in 3D. 2D, different story. I have very different feelings on 2D gaming. Where 2D gaming is much more of a sort of like a zen obstacle course. Like it's more just kind of like
Right.
it's like almost being like a skater, where it's like you're just at the skate park and you just want to do some kick flips. You want to like you just want to go, do some tricks, in the half pipe or in a bowl or something. And that's kind of like 2D gaming for me in a way. It's like I just want to run through the level in Sonic, or whatever. I don't I'm more of like the arcade, like gratification aspect in a 2D game. Where in a 3D game, I'll just sit there and just like wander around slowly. I'm not gonna walk anywhere in a 2D game.
One of the only times that I ever got like hurt skating was the first time I tried to go into a bowl.
Yeah, well.
I don't know, ooh.
But I mean, when you're good at skateboarding and you're just kind of like, yeah, I just want to go to the skate park and just
Yeah.
ride.
Um yeah, which is odd because like I hate grinding and yet I did a whole lot of grinding skating, I guess.
Mm.
Uh
Or
man,
biking. Just
also I've been going back to skating occasionally here and
biking.
there. my balance. I'm so garbage.
Yeah, well,
It's extra embarrassing.
yeah, well, welcome to getting old.
Well, I'm also,
But
I was like a twig when I skated last time. Now I'm
right,
200 pounds. I'm just like doing an
the board
ollie.
is like,
Yeah, like there's a creek that wasn't there before. I don't. Hmm. Um. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like what the my least favorite. Not that I want to end on a down note, but like I'm trying to think of like something that I was like, okay, we should talk a little bit about surprise, like, okay, Shinobi, sort of surprising. Sonic Racing, a little surprising.
really disappointed with that.
It doesn't look amazing, but it looks
It's
fun.
just Sonic characters. Well, then here's the thing. On the blog, it said it says, and I quote on their blog, that it's Sonic and other Sega characters. I lost it, but whatever. Because in the trailer it was just Sonic characters. I was like,
Yeah, I would have figured they would have like some Yakuza
yeah.
characters.
And then in the worlds they're going to apparently are not themed. Like they're themed, like theme park lands. They said, but they're not going to another Sega world. The game feels like a drop ball to me. Like you're going to a dinosaur land, you're going to a flower land, you're going to the aircraft carrier. I was like, oh, this must be Afterburner, but those were like F-35s, not F-14s. So I guess it's not Afterburner. It's just
So maybe this is just like
military. It's just battleship land.
it's a thrown together money grab.
I guess, yeah. I don't know,
Hmm.
man. Because it's like, okay, so the person in first, when he's coming up on the second lap, he gets to choose which one of two worlds they're going to go to. You're going to race on your second lap, and then you go to that world. And there's going to be, the land, sea, air transformation. There're going to be hoverboards as well from Sonic Riders. I saw, like, I don't know
Hmm.
what that character's name is, like Suck the Cock or whatever.
Jesus.
I forgot what his name is. His name is Suck the Cock.
Well, what I was going to say is a game that I never expected to see this style of game was the Darwin's Paradox Octopus
They showed
sneaky.
so little of that too. They're like, "Here's a new game from Konami. Bye." I was
Yeah,
like,
well,
"Okay."
I was just sort of like, I if you would have asked me to describe what Konami was going to show up with, this is nowhere near what I would have
I
said.
would have thought they were a new Castlevania because that Netflix thing has done so much for its name, but nope. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering.
They had Metal Gear Delta.
Yeah, Metal Gear Delta, and there's the Ape Escape little
It's
teaser
coming
thing,
back. Snake vs. Ape is going to be a thing again. That'll be
which
the last new Ape Escape content you ever see.
yeah, Ape Escape's never coming back, and it's mostly because they hate me specifically.
Yeah.
Every year I write to Santa,
Yeah, I
please.
think I think
Give me
Sonic
Ape Escape.
Racing Crossworlds was my biggest disappointment when I just saw
Yeah.
Sonic characters and I was like, but I guess there's a little bit of hope because the blog says it is more than Sonic and other Sega characters. And I'm like, well, okay, but like not showing any of them is like, okay, we're just gonna see like a couple, and it's just gonna be like the Monkey Ball characters and Samba de Migo and call it a day. Like, man, I don't know, man. I'm worried, man. I don't know. I don't know why Sega didn't take the opportunity from Transform to make that into their Smash Brothers / Mario Kart. Rather, they're just like doubling down on we need our own Mario Kart. Shut up! You don't need a Mario Kart competitor. That make it your Smash Brothers / Mario Kart competitor. Like I don't know. Like it's Sega being Sega. So
Yeah, I don't okay. If it's fun to play, I'll ignore everything else because while it is basically just a Mario Kart ripoff, uh sometimes those ripoffs are much more fun than even Mario Kart is. So, like look at Crash Team
oh
Racing.
no, don't get me wrong. Sonic Racing Transformers is the best kart racer ever made. I'm just upset they didn't follow up on it, or they did with Team Sonic Racing, but that sucked my nuts. And it was only Sonic characters.
But I thought you loved Sonic. Sonic's
No,
your favorite. You love
I
Shadow.
love
Shadow's your
yeah,
favorite.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Shadow's
Sonic.
yours.
I say this. I have a Sonic. I have this beautiful Sonic the Hedgehog statue from Sonic Mania. Was gifted to me, and from Nadia, and the other gift from Max, the Sonic and Knuckles logo. And it's like I love Genesis and Sonic Mania. I don't really, and I love Sonic Racing Transformed. I don't really love much of else of this. Sonic is a very interesting franchise for me because man, the games I love, I do love, but the rest of that franchise and the characters, them talking, oh my god.
Yeah, actually, your wedding gift, all I got you was like nothing but Shadow the Hedgehog hentai shirts.
Oh my god.
It's just, and they're really light and flowy.
Jesus Christ.
I even got one signed by Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, you probably would, right?
It's like-
Oh, I thought your Shadow's a squirter, huh?
yeah, well, yeah, and we know that Squirt is just piss.
You and Randy should hash it out.
Me and Randy were like this. Just we're the two best friends anybody could have. I don't know. There was nothing that was like specifically a disappointment to me. Maybe Days Gone remastered because I still haven't.
Yeah, I'm sure that's most people because with the state of play in it, it's still been going all day. You know what's trending? You know what's trending on Twitter? Bloodborne.
I mean, it's just never
Bloodborne's 10th anniversary is like next month, and what did they announce at the state of play 10 years after? Days Gone remastered.
Days Gone.
Now, hey, $10 upgrade, Andrew. You can upgrade for $10.
I'm good.
You can.
I've tried so many times. I've even asked people that I know that really love the game. I'm like, when does it hook you? And like everyone I've asked that loves the game is all like immediately. What are you talking about? You're insane. And I'm like, oh, okay. Right. But like, when does it like you can't put the controller down? And it's this I get this like blank stare. People who love it really love it. Everyone else didn't play it. So I don't know what to do about it. And they're re-releasing it, so it must have sold well enough to.
It did sell a pretty good amount of copies, but
Right. I guess I didn't realize that it sold enough to warrant a remaster.
I guess Bloodborne didn't.
Well, yeah, no, nobody likes Bloodborne this many years on. Like, yeah, like a year or two, people were like, "Oh, I love Bloodborne. Bloodborne's the greatest. It's the best Souls game there is." But then after like 5-10 years now, everybody agrees that Bloodborne's actually trash. Nobody likes it.
It's almost spite at this point, don't you think? Don't you think it's almost spiteful?
I just
How
want to.
much they've remastered. They're going to remaster Killzone Shadowfall before Bloodborne.
Oh, okay. I want to know. We got to find out if there's like some behind the scenes reason why they haven't done it, because it can't just be that they don't like money.
I think it was Shuhei Yoshida said something like, "Oh, Bloodborne is a very personal project for Miyazaki, so he thinks nobody wants to, and he's very busy right now, and they're like nobody wants to do anything without his involvement." So it's like out of like, which sounds BS, but it's also I could almost see that happening, where it's just kind of like the he very much personally loves that game. It's a very big. It's like his baby. They don't want to do anything with the project without his involvement, so they've not moved forward with doing anything without his involvement. I mean, they did remake Demon Souls with Blue Point when everyone thought that was what Blue Point was going to do for Bloodborne. But no, let's have them work on a God of War live service game that we cancel.
Okay. So Miyazaki has written all of the Soulsborne games, hasn't he? He's the main writer behind.
Except like Dark Souls 2, but yes.
Oh, okay. So I wonder. I mean, granted, Bloodborne has the most interesting story of the Soulsborne.
Oh, definitely.
So I could understand why he loves it the most. I'm just like, he must really love it if he won't let anybody else.
Well, that's the thing is he's never said he wouldn't let anyone else. And even Shuhei Yoshida was just kind of like, oh, well, he's busy, so I don't think anyone wants to do anything without him. But I'm like, that begs the question: has anyone asked him?
Well,
that's because this is all assumption.
If he's never been on the internet, then I will buy that he doesn't know.
He probably hasn't, honestly.
I don't know. How old is Miyazaki?
He's up there. He's like 50 or something.
He's 50. He might not actually know the internet exists. 50 in Japan, they still use fax machines.
Yep.
20 in Japan, they still use fax machines. That's my favorite thing about like Japanese business. When I worked with a Japanese set designer, he was living in LA and we were working on like we were working on an ad. He had so many fun stories of just like the way he was like, it was like stepping into the future when he came to like work in LA for a little bit. Where he's like, you don't have to like have handwritten copies of costume and set design changes.
Yeah.
You just take a picture of the set as it is and then change it. And if they want to change it back, you can set. No, you have to like handwrite reports apparently of
Jesus.
oh, we moved this over to here. And it's like, damn, they really love a paper trail. Like I don't, and I'm not making fun of it. I genuinely I find it fascinating. I just
Yeah.
a love of paper copies. If you send an email, there's somebody that will print your email.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true everywhere now. I just know that is an old school like somebody prints off the emails that they get.
If anything, leaks probably just has dissuaded them from doing that. But here's a dark secret of the game industry regarding Japan. Japan's response to leaks or anything regarding that is they actually just cut any American division out of the loop.
Because they immediately assume it must be the American.
Yes.
I mean, how often are they right?
I mean, well, it's like, oh, we won't send review copies to Western outlets because Western outlets will leak the game to the internet, and then piracy. We'll lose all these sales to piracy. Not realizing that like a mom and pop shop will get it early, and it'll be on the internet anyways.
Yeah.
Like,
Huh.
they have this real weird mentality that like one, they can control piracy, and two, they can really control it, is especially if they only release something physically in Japan, and it's like, oh god.
Well,
you
I
you really have no idea, do you?
it's one of those things where the 80s was such a special time just generally in the world of business. Like
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
many
you think adults can't let go of their 80s nostalgia. Japan business can't let go of the fact that they had the largest bubble economy ever in the 80s.
well, it's one of those things where it's just like there was money everywhere.
Everywhere.
And so being inefficient wasn't a problem. It wasn't even like
Yeah, if you
nobody
read up
cared
on
about
like
that.
if you read up on how like movies like Akira and just general big budget anime movies were back then, there's like people just threw money at a project just because they could. They had like nothing else to do. Like obscene amount of money were just thrown at projects in the 80s in
And actually
Japan.
nothing's changed at Sony. The Concorde was how much money? They just toss things around. As a final thought about this, closing out the episode, again, there's, I think there was something here for everyone to get excited about. There was at least something here that you can be a little bit amped about. I was going into it expecting a pretty dry year. And so seeing that there's like, they've got
I
legitimate
think I
projects
think if
coming.
anything, this is going to be what of not is there's nothing coming out this year. It's which one of these interesting looking games, because a lot of them did look at least a little bit mildly
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Which one of these is going to hit? Now it's less about,
Mm,
what do they even have, and more of like, all right, well, which one of these
mm.
interesting looking things is going to really, really take off?
Directive 80/20 is definitely going to be a hit, but I think now knowing that guy has a GTA background,
That's for
um,
Mind's Eye.
yeah, I know. Now knowing that that guy has a GTA background, I expect Mind's Eye to be. I kind of expect it to get pushed harder as it comes closer
Mm,
because Sony wants their GTA. I can see
Well, I
Sony
don't.
being, we
I
want
don't
our
know.
big GTA hit.
I don't know if it's exclusive though. You know?
That's true. Yeah, they didn't say. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's real true, actually. That's another problem I have with like state of play. It's very obscure about what is exclusive and what's like if I didn't know because Capcom already showed it, the way they present Monster Hunter was like, oh, this is like an exclusive. Like they present everything like it's going to be exclusive, which I guess, if all you have is a Sony console, that's pretty much how you look at everything, right?
Hmm.
Like you just look at it like, yeah, of course, this is exclusive because this is the only thing I'm going to buy it for.
Yeah. I think they're really probably trying to get it out before GTA 6 because it
Oh,
doesn't.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to, I don't even know if it's actually going to be open world. From what I'm looking at their blog post, it doesn't look like it's
Doesn't
open
say that.
world. No. So I don't think it will be, but it'll definitely have, it's absolutely going to have things from the fact that this director has done nothing but make open world games his entire career,
Yeah, I would be
practically.
shocked if
So
it's not open world then at this point. Although Midnight Walk is still probably the thing out of
Midnight
everything
Walk
right
looks
now.
great. I can't wait
Yeah.
to experience that in VR.
Yeah. I forgot that it is also coming to VR
Yeah, well, it said PS5 and VR too.
and VR too. Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, I
So
won't be experiencing it in VR. You'll love that.
I will actually be excited to see what does a stop motion in VR look like.
I don't even understand how you play that game. eh, Well, I guess yeah, you play it with a controller, but you
You have
look
those
around with it. Yeah.
we have those little weird little disky things.
Can you play it with those?
Yeah, you have to play every VR2 game with that.
Oh, it's not like Resident Evil 7 where you can play with a controller
No,
so you
no,
move
no.
around and
You have these two handles that have like these big weird like circles around, and they're all like they're just gyro things, and that's how you do VR2.
huh. Well, you're gonna love that, and I'm gonna love that for you. I'm gonna watch you look like a dick on stream.
Okay.
But on that note, we've got patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Due to the week was Kenneth S. Thank you, Kenneth. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Osnight, Cyberknight, Scrudami, Kroy35, Hyper Viper 89, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We'll catch you next time.
Later, dudes.